kind of targeting rule for your consumers， 就是你需要设定你的规则来决定你要怎么投广告嘛。Also, the key thing is they want to bid 投标 for space. Okay. And what I will teach you guys today is about the big concepts in keyword advertising, keyword bidding. Okay. So the advertiser, based on their product, they will have some relevant keywords. 就是取决于你的产品或服务，你会有些关键字。Then the digital agency, they will spend the money for their advertisers and to participate in the keyword bidding. And in this part, we have some optimization opportunities. This is from the perspective of advertiser. This part, today my example will be using Google. Google also has some opportunities to do optimization. And their goal is common in the sense they want to make sure consumers will see the right advertisement in the right time, such that you will be, drawn to the advertisement and eventually the products and services. All right. So the first part of my lecture today will talk about Google. And the second part of my lecture today will talk about the digital advertising agency. All right. And the paper I show you guys, 360i, 360i, is one of the most successful. Oops. Give me a second. Sorry. What's going on? The 360i is one of the most successful digital advertising agency in the world, and their clients include Spotify, Netflix, and so on. All right, so this will be related to your term project. So please pay attention to that later on in the third part of our class. All right, so that's the big idea I want to show you guys today, and you guys hopefully will have a better idea about digital advertising and why our management science course, the techniques you have learned, are actually being used and very useful in this context. Okay, so I want to begin today's discussion. I want to take the perspective from the platform. So everybody in the class, I suppose you pretty much should use your Google search engine a couple times every day, right? And I don't know how many of you are actually using the Bing by Microsoft. I don't know, I never use Bing. But anyway, for those search engines, it's free to use, right? And how the hell does the search engines make money? Of course, it depends on the online advertising. So how does the advertising work from the perspective in Google? And the process is actually very similar to Yahoo and Bing or other platforms that want to make money through keyword advertising. Okay, 关键字. So essentially, there are several steps. The advertisers, 就是我前面讲的广告主哈 or the agencies, the ad agency, they will bid for different queries. So the queries means the keyword. So let me give you guys an example. Suppose if I want to, do the digital advertising for H&M, what kind of queries may be related to H&M, such as jeans, t-shirt, fashion, something like that, right? Those are the queries. And for those different keywords, the advertiser or the agency will bid on it. And also specify a budget, okay? How much money I want to spend, for this digital advertising campaign. And the following is very critical. For each keyword, there are multiple players, player 1 to K, they will join an auction based on their bid value. 就是有许多的 player， 他们会针对关键字去做竞标 ，OK？And Google will assess their bidding value as well as the quality score. So quality score, the idea is a bit rough and it's a secret by Google. But I will show you guys the basic idea of quality score, okay? So quality score is determined by Google, and the idea is Google will try to assess the fitness between ad and keyword. 就 Google 会评估这个广告主的广告和这个关键字的关联度，这样之后 ，So Google will assign a quality score for the advertisement and the search keyword. And based on that, Google will decide on its price per click for each advertiser and the query. So the price per click, I will explain to you guys very soon. But right now, just remember the term, okay? Price per click 就是点击一次 Google 要跟你收多少钱后。So it's how much the advertiser will have to pay if the user use the keyword search and for that query. Okay, so let me do something right now to give you guys the idea. So essentially, what's going on right now is if I do a quick search, say plastic surgery. Okay, so based on my search, this is top one, the second one, the third one, and there are actually more, right? So if I click on this, and chances are I'm drawn to the website, right? So because I click on this, which means the digital advertisers, the advertisers budget is already charged by the price per click, okay? So Google, based on information, Google needs to make a decision every day, actually every minute, is how often to display each ad for each query. And think about the volume of queries. Think about the volume of searches, people on this planet are doing every day, okay? And every time, whenever I click on the advertisement, the budget will be consumed by the price per click. Okay. So this is exactly the moment when Google makes money. If I click on it, and Google will make money, right? So let me give you guys, visual, illustration of the big idea. So this is an artificial problem, I create for teaching purposes. 就是我一个简单的问题用来上课让你理解这样子。Excuse me. So suppose we have 3 advertisers in telecom. And I got this example from MIT, and the example is in the United States. But if you guys think about it, it's like our Zhonghua Dianxin, China Telecom. You guys can think of the 3 big telecom in Taiwan, China Telecom, and Taiwan Mobile, and the Far East. 台湾大哥大、中华电信、远传. So in the United States, it's AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. And suppose in Google, there are 3 keywords. And right now, we have 3 advertisers. And the advertisers may have their own digital advertising department, or they have some digital advertising agency. They will do the keyword advertising for those advertisers. And Google, based on the quality score. Okay, Google, based on the quality score and the bid value from the 3 companies, Google will decide on the price per click. Okay, and another key information Google possesses is what we call click-through rate. Okay, so if we have a click-through rate of 0.08, which means it has 8 clicks per 100 displays, which is 8%. Okay, and this is the crucial data in online business. Okay, so if you guys, some of you decide to start your own business in the future, and make sure keep trace of all the clicks, because the information are very valuable. And this kind of data, Google, because of its business nature, Google possesses this kind of data. So before we talk about how Google solved its optimization problem for keyword advertising, let me give you guys, another piece of information before we proceed. Typically, when we do this kind of data analytics in online business, we have a common problem called cold start. Okay, in Mandarin we call it 冷启动. So what do I mean by cold start? Is when we have new advertisement for new product or a new service. This is actually similar to the Zara and Uniqlo example I told you guys last week, right? We will have new advertisement for new product or new service. What's the challenge? We have no data. I have no idea what the click-through rate will be, right? And see the example here, we have the 4G LTE, largest LTE, and the best LTE network. So those are the relevant keyword for telecom services. And let's say in this fall, suppose they want to launch 5G, right? 5G is the next thing. And we have new ads for 5G. And of course, we have no idea what the click-through rate will be. So you guys understand what I'm saying, right? 就大家有理解哈，就是我现在有 5G 要上市了，那我怎么知道我的广告 5G 的 click-through rate 是什么？ Then of course, what kind of basis in terms of the information can we use for the 5G click-through rate? We must refer to the 4G. Okay, so that's how we set out the parameters in platforms. So based on the PPC and the CTR, the click-through rate, Google will be able to calculate the key parameter for their optimization process is called average price per display. That is the expected earning for what? For every time Google play an ad for an advertiser for a particular search. Okay, so let me do a translation. So 每一次 Google 投放某一个广告 for 某个广告主，它的期望收益就是这样哈。It's the expected earning for every time Google decides to display the ad, and it's exactly the PPC multiplied by CTR. So let me show you guys why. So suppose right now we have 10 users search for this particular keyword. And Google decides to choose Verizon from the 3 advertisers. Remember, we have AT&T. We also have T-Mobile, right? But Google decides to display Verizon's advertisement based on some decision rule. And we know the click-through rate, 点击率 for Verizon and this ad is about 20%, which is 2 out of 10 users will try to click on the ad. And once 2 users click on the ad, Verizon will pay how much? This is the PPC for the keyword. So the price per click multiplied by the click is the money. So the money will be deducted from budget. 就是预算中会被扣掉50块 okay? And Google will make $50 of earning. The big idea is like this. And on average, how much does Verizon pay $50 and Google display 10 times. Therefore, it's $5 per display. So later is average price per display, right? 就是我们投放10次，然后我们赚50块嘛，所以平均一次赚5块。And this is exactly the PPC multiplied by CTR. So you guys can check on this, okay? And make sure the unit is correct. So what do I mean by the unit is correct? If you check the unit here, the first part we have click per user. The second part, CTR, we have click per display. Oh, sorry. The first part I got it wrong. I apologize for that. The PPC, this part, is money per click. I apologize for the, handwriting typo. So the unit, if you cancel it out, it will become money per user display. All right. So PPC multiplied by CTR will get our average price per display. And this is exactly, remember what I said, the expected earning. Okay. So we are almost ready to solve the optimization problem for Google. If Google wants to pursue, a mathematical optimization like we did, and actually they did in many cases, all right? Also, each advertiser has its budget specified in Google's API, and Google needs to make a forecast. 就 Google 需要做一个预测吼 ，and forecast for what? For the demand. For each keyword, Google because Google had the historical data, therefore Google should be able to predict, let's say tomorrow, how many queries in a particular area will take place for keyword 1, keyword 2, and keyword 3. 就是 Google 因为它有历史资料嘛，所以它可以外推说每一天可能会有多少关键字查询在一个区域。And because you know the maximum demand, therefore you don't have to display more ads for a keyword than the demand. So let me give you guys an example. Suppose I know if in木栅 the search for, let's say, running. The search for running shoe, the demand is about 5,000. If I expect tomorrow there will be 5,000 queries in Muza for running shoe, then there's no reason for me to display the advertisement from Nike, Adidas for more than 5,000 times, right? Okay, we need to make sure our supply match the demand. And this kind of forecasting, what Google did is Google has the time and Google has the observation on search for a keyword. And based on this, Google needs to predict what will happen in the future. So this requires some time series modeling techniques, which Professor Zhou will teach you guys in next week, in 2 weeks. Okay, 所以周老师会教你们预测技巧，怎么来解决这个问题。这样 Alright, so everybody is clear? So now let's see how Google can solve this optimization problem based on simple integer programming. And it's an integer programming because the decision variable is an integer. So now let's try to formulate the problem. We want to solve it by optima first. Okay. So the objective function for Google is very simple. We want to maximize the revenue from our expected earning under our display decision. And our decision is for each advertiser and each query. 就每个广告主的每个关键字 we need to decide on how many times we want to display the advertisement for that query. And we have two important constraints. The first constraint is budget. Because I know on expectation, this is the money Google will make for an advertisement, right? So based on my decision, if I display 100 times and every time I expect to get $0.5, then how much money will I get? It's gonna be 100 times multiplied by $0.5, right? So it's gonna consume, let's say, $50. So I need to make sure my decision cannot, the final cost cannot exceed the budget specified by the advertisers. And also the total ads for displaying should not exceed the estimated number of query. 就是我不需要投放超过 query 次数的广告嘛。Okay, so if you guys understand this in plain language, then try to write our optimization problem. So the optimization problem in Google is like this. We have 9 decision variables. And why is that? Because we have 3 advertisers multiplied by 3 keywords. 我们有3个广告组，3个关键字嘛，所以组合起来我们有9个决策变数 ，9 decision variables. And where A denotes AT&T, T denotes T-Mobile, V denotes Verizon, and 1, 2, 3 denote the 3 keywords respectively. Good. And think about the optimization problem in the real world. If Google has N advertisers multiplied by M keywords, Google will have N multiplied by M decision variables. Or if you guys decide to run a startup and you tell your fund sources, say, hey, please give me some fund and I will make my money based on online advertising. The problem scale is very large. Okay, 就问题的规模很大了，没错嘛，吼。And we will look into this pretty soon. Okay, so what will be the objective function? The objective function is the following, which is this one is the average price per display. Because it's the expected earning, right? Therefore, I only need to multiply the expected earning by the decision variable and take the sum. That becomes my objective function. So remember, that's the earning. And I told you guys there are 2 constraints, 2 sets of constraints. So let me give you guys an example using AT&T. So this is the budget for AT&T. And for keyword number 1, keyword number 2, and keyword number 3, for these advertisers, my expected earning should not exceed the budget of AT&T. Okay, and we will repeat this for 3 times because we also have T-Mobile and Verizon. And another one is the demand supply constraint, is the number of times the ads we display for this particular keyword. Okay, so right now we fixed the keyword number 2. And we have advertiser number 1, AT&T, advertiser T-Mobile, and the advertiser Verizon. Good. So that is the forecast. Oops. Come on. By Google for this query. So 大家有问题吗? Do you have any question? So if you don't have any question, that's my Python code today. All right. Let's go to the collab. So if you guys go to the Python code I gave you guys last week, and if you patiently scroll down, I already wrote the program for you guys. Okay, the program is called Google Ad Keyword Advertising. And here the problem scale is pretty small. So we have 3 advertisers, 3 queries, I and J. And we also have the budget and also the forecast for the keyword search by Google, right? And what is this matrix? So this matrix is the price per display in our PowerPoint slide. Good. And once you have the information, you guys should be able to specify the optimization model, right? So we have 9 decision variables. I use 2 for loops. One is for advertiser, another one is for keyword. And here you guys can change it to integer. Okay, actually you should do it in integer. And I use continuous for because I was lazy, but you should use integer. And you also have 3 constraints for the query constraints for keyword number 1, keyword number 2, and keyword number 3. So that's the constraint here. And we also have another constraint for budgets of our advertisers. And once you have specified the constraint, the remaining is straightforward. I only need to specify my objective function for my platform, which is Google. And I can solve my model. Good. So if you solve the model, guys, give me a second. I don't know what's going on. The optimal decision you will get is 40, 40, 80, 100. Come on, 0, 0, 40, 40, 40, 80, 100, 0, 0. Actually, this one is 0, and this one is 40, and this one is 0. And the optima is 428. Okay, so oops. I apologize. Give me a second. Let me reshare my screen. And actually, sorry, let me do it again. I don't need to show my face. So let me share my screen to save my internet bandwidth. Sorry about that. So the optimal solution is 428 in terms of the objective. But in practice, we don't necessarily do optimization all the time. Why is that? Because of the computational resources concern. The real world problem scale is very large. Okay, 就现实世界 Google 需要解的问题太多了。So in practice, oftentimes we want to search for some heuristic. That is some efficient rule that will allow us to solve the problem, quickly. And even though we know it may not be optimal, but if it's very computational efficient and its performance is not too bad, then we may use some heuristic. Alright. 就在实务上来讲，因为运算资源的考量，有时候我们会用一些简单的规则来计算哈。So a common heuristic used by the online industry and actually many different industry sectors is called greedy heuristic. So it's a forward search heuristic. And let me show you guys how to solve this problem using greedy heuristic. So let's go to this page and let me go through this with you. Oops. Let me go through this with you guys. Okay. And we will solve this problem and take a break. So right now the optima is 428. That's the theoretical optima. But let's say I don't want to do the optimization because it requires lots of search for the solution. And I want to use a greedy heuristic. So when I say greedy, the idea is we are very myopic. 我们很短视近利. So we want to begin with the one that seems to be most profitable. Begin with the most profitable one. So which one looks most profitable? If you look at the information here, this one seems very profitable, right? Therefore, we will begin with B3. And if I expect I can make $5 for Verizon for this keyword, how many times can I display? Is 32, right? Chances, based on the budget, the maximum I can display for Verizon 3 is 32. And what's the demand? The demand is 80. So the 32 is my supply. And this one is my demand. Therefore, I'm gonna display 32 times. And I will have 48 left because I already displayed 32 times. And what's the next? The next profitable is this guy, right? However, I cannot display this one because I already used all the money for Verizon. So 我们用一些简单的规则来做搜寻。We use some simple rule to do the search. So what's the next one? The next profitable one is this guy, right? So it's gonna be T3. So how many times can I display? 100 divided by 2 is 50. However, can I display 50 times? No. Remember, we have the demand, right? So I only display 48. So this guy is gone. And now after I display 48 times, I expect to spend $96. So I have $4 left. So what's the next one? The next one is this guy. A3, but I cannot display it. Why? Because there is no longer any demand for query 3. So this one is also gone. So what's the next one? It's gonna be T1. So T-Mobile only has $4 left. So it's 4 times. And what's the demand? The demand is 140. So I only display 4 times. And AT&T right now is gone. So I have 136 left. Good. And following this logic, we can go to the next one. T2. No. Because the money is right now 0. And we just need to go to AT&T. Good. So everybody understand this? And if you follow this rule in this problem, you will get the profit of 368 based on the greedy heuristic. 就是如果用贪婪搜寻的法 you will make $368. And the gap is actually $60 divided by 428. So where is the 60? 60 is the difference between the heuristic and the 428. All right. So before we take a break, in practice, the reason we want to use a heuristic sometime in the real world is because it's very efficient and it's easy to compute. And even though we know there are some gap in terms of the performance or profitability, but if you feel your computational cost is too high, then the heuristic is not too bad. And even though you want to use some kind of simple rules, 即使你想要用一些简单的规则 it's always good to formulate an optimization problem. Why? Because the optimization problem will allow the companies to know what is the theoretical optima. 就公司很多时候找我们去做研究，是希望能够了解理论上最好是多少。The companies, do some research because they want to know what's the theoretically best value, and they want to know what's the gap between their current policy versus the theoretical optima. So optimization is still very useful. All right. So let's try to take a short break. All right. and we will be back at 5:10. So I will continue the discussion today and switch to the next part very soon. But before you guys take a break, please check the WebEx meeting room. Right now, I want to launch a poll. Okay, 我现在要发动一个民意调查。Okay, so you guys please try to vote in the next 15 minutes for the class in April 22nd, 2020. Sorry, April 27th. I will give you guys the option to decide on whether you want to go online or in class. Okay. Personally, I can take the risk to go to the classroom. No problem for me. It's my duty. But I will give you guys the freedom to, give it a vote. So please try to make a vote within the next 15 minutes, and we'll be back in at 5:10. Right.